Back this week in Coverager. No initial joke. I have the calendar up. It is June 19th. It's an early Friday morning, so I nailed it. We're basically it'll be summer this week. My mind is getting cleared up, so I know where I am. This is the show where we go over what has been some of the happenings, articles, topics that have come through the Coverager newsletter. And in this particular week, it's been a fairly dry news cycle, but there has been some activity. Shefi interviewed John Swigart, CEO of Pi Insurance, on a Q&A, and it got a lot of response, which kind of coincided with responses I've been getting from our Lemonade special last week and this week in Coverager. A lot of conversation about the startups that, do I go the MGA route? Do I go the carrier route? And some of the trade-offs. So we thought rather than rehash a specific news article, we would kind of bring that up. And so, Shefi, I'm going to start with you and ask you about Pi Insurance. And I edited that video, so I got to listen to the whole thing. I thought Pi has a very interesting story, and I think a lot of their story really can put a little bit of context to those startups that want to do, are debating the MGA versus carrier route. Pi went in a particular direction. It could be very unique to them and to their line, but I thought it was extremely strategic, very well thought out, and has now given them a lot of options. Can you talk a little bit about your conversation with John in Pi Insurance and what you got out of it?
Sure. So first of all, typically at Coverager, we tend to stay really far away from the people that actually do the business. And this is co-founders and founders. And this is me in particular, because I find it really hard to be critical about something when I know the person. And with John from Pi Insurance, it's been a while. It took me a really long time to reach out to him, and I'm glad I did reach out to him, but I had to first establish my opinion about the company, which it's positive. There's no buts about it. And what I got from John in the conversation is, obviously, one, this is a business where you have to purchase workers' compensation. So education is less of an issue for him and for the customers that he's targeting, right? So it's an easier sell, okay? But easier is very relative, because still with work comp, and he has a sweet spot with employees of kind of up to 10 employees for now, right? Businesses are always growing and improving. So there's no doubt that people are price sensitive in insurance, and that may vary by channel. So he talks a lot about the differences between customers that he's getting from the agency channel versus customers that he's getting direct. And we kind of joked about, you needed all the ingredients to make a good pie. And clearly with Pi Insurance, they have that. So it's not just the agency channel model. It's not just direct. It's not just TV ads. It's not just marketing through customers. It's basically all of the above. But there was definitely a focus on pricing, on broad appetite. So they have an advantage in certain areas where carriers aren't competing. And this is evident by the fact that he's selling through agents. So agents do have access to other incumbents, I should say, or legacy carriers, whatever term you want to use. But they still find it relevant. And while not everybody, nothing is for everybody. So some agents will say, well, we don't want to work with Pi because they're going direct, or you're not for us. Obviously, many say you are for us because, again, pricing, broad appetite, technology, which is that ease of use factor. And the reason why I really reached out was because obviously there was this big news about the Series B raise, and then they were raising $100 million to acquire customers, or just kind of go the full stack route, however you want to think about it. And that's really that's the question that we've been getting since, I think, 2015. Like when Avi and I would be in the office and people would come, so what do you think? Should we be an MGA or should we be full stack? And my thought about this is, at first, this is still my decision, is that, or my thought is that you have to decide why you want to be a full stack insurer, and make sure that it's for the right reasons. Insurance is not the most exciting industry.
Yeah.
And I think nobody wants to tell their mother that they're running an insurance agency. Okay, that's kind of at the bottom of the pyramid. And I remember when it covered, like, early days of Coverager, when I used to write about certain startups, I would just use the term insurance agency, and I would get back comments. I really hope you don't think of us just as an insurance agency. And the reason I was writing insurance agency versus insurance carrier and all that fun stuff. So first of all, when we started the Coverager database, one of the hardest pain point was like looking through some of these companies before everybody was famous and everybody knew what everybody was doing. This is really early on, where Lemonade was still peer-to-peer insurer and all that fun stuff. Just going through the terms and conditions to understand, are they carrying the risk, or they're intermediary? Yeah. There wasn't that much transparency going on. And so when we created the Coverager database, I put a term, intermediary, we put a term insurer, and we really just wanted to separate. Okay, this one is regulated this way. This we don't know. This is a lead gen, etc. Right? So have that identification. So insurance agency or insurance broker, to me, that was, just what it was. But they didn't like it. They were like, well, first of all, everybody prefers MGA or MGU, and if that's the case, that's fine. But the intentions, why go the full stack route, is really important. And the timing. When do you want to dedicate all your resources into, the regulatory environment?
So go ahead.
No. I was gonna kick it to you.
So it's an interesting topic, and it really depends what you want. And I'll give you an example. So someone said, founders coming into the tech scene, startup founders, they don't want to sell something without knowing what's under the hood. They want to know what's under the hood. So when you look at Ethos, for example, and they sell a surety, and I think they have a few other carriers on there, you don't really know what's under the hood. It's not your product. Ethos is not selling their product. So I understand that notion of, I want to know what I'm promising to my customers. I want to know what they're getting. So yes, you go the full stack route and you know what's under there. But let me ask you this. Is it all that different? To me, it's not. It's the same. It's still insurance. And you look at Lemonade, and you look at Root, and you look at Clear Cover now, and you look at Metro Mile. They all offer the same product. You still have customers complaining about the claims. You still have customers complaining that, oh, I thought it was covered. So it's not that you're doing something revolutionary that's significantly different than your competition. If you were doing something like that, then I understand why you would want to go the full stack and be different. But at the end of the day, it's still insurance. You'll still see the same exact thing. You'll still have to get regulators to approve you. You still have to submit price increases. You still have to do all of that. So to me, you don't change. Now, of course, I always found it funny where a lot of these MGAs would come in and they said, we're better. Why? I mean, it's the same product as a company that's been here for 100 years. How can you be so sure? So I get that, but the trade-off where you now have to handle claims and you need to have capital and, all the pressure is on you, it's a big deal. And we met a few months ago, some folks from a very big consulting firm, and they said, look, we looked at the data for a long, long time. Making money as a carrier, the money is not there. You want to make money as an MGA. You want that 15, 20% commission. That's where you want to be, because it's very difficult to make money from, to make money as an insurance company from the underwriting portion. So it really depends what your angle. But then I'll give you another example. Look at Jetty. They stopped business because their carrier said no more business. And now they were stuck. They couldn't do anything. They had no choice. So I get that you want to control and you want to, be in control. But I think that's where the relationship is different. If you come in with power, if you're an MGA that is powerful, then your carriers will say, we'll do whatever you need us to do.
True.
We'll be there for you. If you're coming in, from a place where not so much and everybody's testing grounds and things like that, then you may run into problems. But I personally, I think it's better to be an MGA. And it's better to be an MGA writing multiple products of different carriers to be able to compare. At the end of the day, the majority, if you look at personal lines at least, majority of consumers want to compare insurance, and that's where I think you should be. If you're, Ethos, Ladder, Bestow, I'm putting my money on Policy Genius. That's where I'm putting my money. And Policy Genius could not have, the instant like Ladder and Bestow, but at the end of the day, consumers are willing. They want that comparison. They want maybe to talk to someone that is neutral. At least that's what they say. So it really depends, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Unless you're Lemonade and you offer $5 renter's insurance, and people may not want to compare you, but then that's a sweet spot as well as a headache for Lemonade, because they have to see how they get the more profitable customer, which, back to Pi, obviously the average premium is a lot higher for them, right? So it's an easier business to navigate.
Yeah. So let's go over the 2 C's, because I think any startup that's coming in that has to make this decision has to manage the 2 C's: control and capital.
I was going to say convenience and confidence.
Well, that's so that would be the next set of 2 C's when
okay.
when you decide we're going to go in a particular route. I see. So I think I always tell folks, do not try to replicate Lemonade. You cannot replicate that. You have 2 very experienced founders who have a successful track record, an extensive network of potential investors. The problem with trying to replicate something like Lemonade is the capital piece of it. It's already difficult to raise money. The capital piece between the MGA and the carrier is just eye-popping. It's if you go either route, you're still going to have to raise capital, actually run the business. The difference with the carrier is you might have to raise 10 times that money just to get the carrier shell off the ground. And I think that is going to be a hurdle that I think becomes extremely problematic, because even before you sell your first policy, you might have $10 million or more sitting in this shell in treasury bills, not doing anything, just waiting for you to deliver business. And, I think to what Avi just said, right then and there, I think that's going to force most folks down the MGA route, because that's a hurdle too big to overcome, my opinion.
So here's the other side of this is that we've seen Keen Insurance go this route, right? So I think this notion of you need a lot of capital, I don't know, it seems to be working differently for different players. I don't know that Keen Insurance is any way near the scale of Lemonade. It simply isn't, but they still went the full stack route, or there's a reciprocal, right?
I think Shefi, gets to the other C. I think folks that are willing to bite the bullet and say, okay, we'll make that effort to raise the extra capital to go the carrier route. They want control.
Yeah.
There's something about their business model where it's just like, we do not want to be beholden to someone else. I think it's what Avi described with Jetty is nobody wants the plug pulled from them. Like, oh, we're going to put in 2-3 years worth of effort and have a carrier pull the plug. Now, I think we can get more deeply into this, and there's probably ways to protect yourself and have risk management around that particular point. But I don't know which of you said this. Is the product really that different? Like, take Lemonade, for instance. It was renter's insurance. It was actually a inferior policy form. They brought nothing unique to the table when it came to the policy form. The pricing was really cheap, but I don't like, there's nothing special about their particular offering that require them to go the carrier route?
The reason why, and this Lemonade actually is a good example of someone going full stack and taking advantage of that control. And they controlled, in my opinion, their business in two ways. One was the $5 renter's insurance. Show me another product in the world, okay, that you don't know the price when you go on the website. Insurance. That's the only idea that comes to mind. Maybe a moving company where it depends on how much you have and
Yeah.
people understand
Yeah.
that. You go to Dropbox to say, I want, to back up my files starting from $9.99. You go to Netflix starting from, this is the price. You go on Best Buy, you want to buy a TV. Okay, here's the price. Lemonade, their beauty in my
Airlines,
airlines.
healthcare,
Oh, healthcare,
airlines.
insurance, airlines. Okay, but even with airlines, everybody gets the same price unless you're overweight. Well, you may have to pay for two seats, and you don't know how much that is. But Lemonade controlled the messaging with $5, and that was the beauty. And by the way, my theory is that they took it from Fiverr when Shai Wininger was the co-founder of Fiverr. $5, it's a nice price, so they did that. And it was good, and people saw $5, and that's what they expected, and they knew, when people were tweeting about it. The other aspect, which they controlled, which I thought was very smart as well, was the automation of some claims. So they had this algorithm, and they said, well, if someone stole your purse and the belongings were, contents were under this amount, just show me the receipt or whatever, here's the money automatically. And that was an amazing experience. And people talked about it. They told their friends, I can't believe it. And that was kind of their growth engine, their marketing strategy. But can you do this with auto? No. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to just snap a picture? It's like, okay, well, AI Jim, I see how much the cost is. Here is $10,000. You can't do that. That's the problem. So Lemonade knew what they were doing. They knew what product to choose. It was all to, as we talked last week, to come in with being the most beautiful, undamaged, and of course, being that insurer for investors and for the IPO. It's like, oh, okay, you're taking on the risk. So that is the one company that controlled the messaging. But the product really, it's not different unless you want to play that game of Lemonade. And the game is that it's fake. It's not real. Once they'll tell them, okay, go do this with homeowners, go do this with auto. They can't do that. They can do it with pet.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
But I think Lemonade could have done it as via an MGA route. I think they're the
You think someone
co-founder.
would have let them, like, say, oh, pay claims automatically? You think their carriers would be comfortable with that?
I do. Well,
Yeah,
no, not comfortable. I think they could have sold it. I think
that could be. Yeah, that could be.
I
It
think
could be the
I
case.
think they could have, and I think they they got control. So they created the stack. They got control, but I think that control is it's temporary, because at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to keep that $5 price. Everybody knows it. They're just buying market share. At some point, the reinsurers will have more control. Like, if the reinsurers just completely dislike the business model and Lemonade can't get reinsurance, they're in trouble. Like, they're not going to be, like, their business model still depends, even though they have control, there's still a limit to the amount of control that they have.
Yeah,
And so that's something that, Shefi, I wanted to get like the way Pi Insurance basically established. It's basically like agile or lean startup, right? If you go the MGA route, it's a much it's a less risky formulaic approach to creating a startup in insurance, where you can learn your lessons, get it to a particular point, and then you can expand. And I think that's one of the lessons of Pi, is that, first of all, the co-founder was we're talking insurance expertise, domain knowledge, sort of knew the space, knew a lot of the economics around it, and knew that if we start off as an MGA and get into the workers' comp space, we can prove out the model And once the model's proved out, now the next step to get more control, get a carrier, is actually easy. Like, you'll get a lot of investors, a lot of capital that will come in because you've already proved it out, which is something I would like really caution a startup from going the carrier route, because you haven't proven anything yet. You're going to need 10 times the amount of capital in order to get this thing off the ground. I think it's really risky. What do you think, Shefi?
So if you give away, so if you're focusing on control, the first thing you need to do is focus on market share. So if the resources are being allocated to being a full stack insurer while they're not, you're just basically acquiring customers in whatever way you need to acquire them, direct, via agents, whatever it is, then you're wasting time, because there are just new entrants all the time. And it's not just from insurance. Other companies are coming in, like Bill Shark. It's not a direct competitor to insurance, but the minute it partnered with Answer Financial, then it's blocking somebody else from getting access to their customer base. I'm not saying that partnership in itself is a success story, because there's going to be a level of marketing that's required in order to push that message, in order to tell people, hey, download the app, shop for insurance. But this is the world we're living in. People are promoting shopping, quoting insurance. Yeah. It's a price sensitive industry. So I feel like the answer is going to be eventually, as I said, nobody wants to tell their mom they own an insurance agency. I believe that. We're all like, it's a hunch. It's what people tell me.
I think
we need to be proud of what we work in.
You're kind of leaning towards the other two C's. I think what you're saying is, a lot of startups come in and they're focusing on control and capital. And what you're saying is you should be focusing on the other two C's, prove that out, which I think you said it's convenience and customers.
Confidence. So the whole idea is confidence, right? So, with work comp, it's maybe less of a confidence game, because people know that they have to buy work comp. With renters insurance, there was some kind of education to do. Oh, hey, you need this product as well because it's optional. Same thing goes with life insurance, right? Life insurance is optional.
Workers comp is mandatory. Excuse me. Workers comp is mandatory, but there's a lot of competitors. Pi kind of stands out, right? Like as you were having that conversation with John, they kind of stood out. So here's this more modern insurance company that was making just the right tweaks to a very rigid model. Workers' comp is, highly regulated by the states, including rates, and there's, you don't have a lot of elbow room to go around there. And they kind of nailed down the convenience part of it by being more digital. They made the product better, and I think that increased the confidence, which gave them the proof that this is going to work. Like this is a really good business model. This is how we're going to execute on it, and that has allowed them now to get access to capital, to get more control over the business.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's two more elements that you need to
two more C's.
Consider. Two more, I would say, business models. Okay. To me, that's the basic. And the first is, if you're an MGA and you now want to go work with agents like Ethos and Bestow, that's doesn't make a lot of sense, because you're a middleman and now you want to work with another middleman. So that's one too many middlemen, and it's a problem, because if you're giving away the commission to the agent, the traditional commission, because you wouldn't get them in another way, then you're basically saying, well, we're just putting premiums on the book, but we're not probably going to see any profit, maybe a few percentages. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, and I can understand why, for example, Hippo, which they do work with agents, and they're saying, well, if we want to work with agents, we need to justify that and become a carrier, and then we're just like everyone else, and we're okay with that. The other element is really about being, I would say, collaborative with your partner and launching the right products. And I'll give Next as an example. With Next Insurance, they came in and say, listen, the way you're doing commercial insurance, it's different, because a fitness instructor, a photographer, they're different. We can't ask them the same questions. We can't do the same things with them. It's not auto insurance that's clear cut. They felt that they were bringing in customers, but the products were not good. So they said, you know what, let us be the carrier, let us launch our own products. And that I can understand. Another company, Vouch Insurance, is proving the other method where they are working with their partners, Munich Re, and they are collaborative, and they're saying, well, you have to understand technology companies, they're not the same. You can't ask them these questions. You can't expect 1, 2, 3. Let's build a program for them. And they went on and they did that. I don't know if it's because they're backed by Silicon Valley Bank or it's Ribbit Capital, but Munich Re is listening, so that's the thing. These are the elements, and you really have to look at the full picture. But to me, like the marketing, can you get customers on your own? If you need to work with an agent and you're an MGA yourself, where's the profit? When will you be profitable? When will you return your investors' money? But I do think that as an IPO, while we did see EverQuote and SelectQuote have good results with their IPO, and they are middlemen, right? I do think in MGA they're going to say, well, we prefer either you're like a lead gen or you're like a marketplace, because everybody loves marketplaces today, like Amazon and Google and Facebook, or you own the product, and we have some confidence knowing that you will know how to underwrite better than these legacy insurers, or you'll know how to delight customers better than these legacy insurers. So it puts you in a pickle, right? I think you're in a difficult situation.
I think you're going to be in a pickle no matter which direction you go, right? That's the problem, with, I think startups that are coming into the insurance space to have to make this decision. I think there's going to be a lot of regret because it's a trade-off. I think whatever direction you go, you're going to have a constant stream of evidence that you might have been better off going the other way, and you're not going to be able to escape that. So I'm gonna kind of circle back. I think it's gonna boil down to what Shefi said. It ultimately comes down to execution. Whichever route you decide, you have to be really confident that you understand the trade-offs around it, and you have to be able to execute it. Right? Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And it's a game of actions and counteractions, right? So nobody is saying, "Oh, okay, we've got our competition, we're going to stay where we are." I just noticed this week that Hiscox updated their landing page, right? So obviously they're working. Everybody is going to improve their message. At the end of the day, you just want to make sure, in insurance, not all customers are created equal. So there is that element of attracting the better customer, the one that is, you can move them easily away along kind of the pricing route, and then maybe you bundle, right? Even Pie Insurance mentioned that they're starting with work comp, but it's really hard to be just offer a single product. Obviously says that all the time, right? Don't just offer one product. That's not the world we live in.
But you know what? Let me ask you the question. This is a question I've been asking myself for a long time. What if, and this is a very disruptive question, what if the way for insurers to make money is not by focusing on insurance? What if we don't need MGAs to make insurance more convenient, because convenient is a relative term, and with insurance pricing is a bigger factor, and distribution is a big problem? What if you don't need to focus on insurance too? And what if insurance companies can make money or be more profitable by not focusing on insurance? And to me, that's the question. Because I look at I think American Family invested in Wise, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and Wise has over 2 million customers, users that have their cameras and
how do you spell
monitors. WYZE.
Okay.
So the company raised a total of $30 million with that investment from American Family. And they have, I think, 2.4 million customers. Lemonade spent, I don't know, I would say it would be fair to say 150 million in advertising to get close to 800,000 policyholders. So 30 million to manufacture a product. They actually manufacture the cameras. And 150 million to get 800,000 policyholders. I think Wise is a wiser decision for an insurance company because they have the engagement, they have an enormous amount of data. You should see their community. They have this like forum where people submit photos of things the Wise camera captured, whether it's a raccoon going into their garbage or their neighbor peeing on their tree, uh, things, crazy things like that, and really an engagement.
Not,
And
not so crazy in this day and age.
yeah, and that's, so to me that's like, okay, American Family, good, you went with Ring, you did now another smart home play, good for you. Still, I would say, look, it's no guarantee that every customer of Wise is going to buy insurance from American Family, no way, but maybe American Family could be the middleman saying, hey, Wise user base, you need to get home insurance. I don't care if you buy it from Travelers or this company or that company, we're going to get a cut from it. So it doesn't matter if you go with us or not, we're going to profit either way.
Can I describe a scarier scenario? We want to talk about real disruption. Xfinity. Xfinity already leases out cable boxes and stuff. Xfinity already has their sights set on smart products. Xfinity is already in a position where they could basically say, you have subscribed to our cable stuff. Here's our router, our internet, our cable box, phone, security. Now, IoT smart devices. That's one small leap to, okay, well, you should be buying homeowners insurance from us. They don't even have to
Definitely.
they don't even have to be the carrier. They can just be the
Definitely.
broker, collect a fee, and whoever offers the cheapest price can be Xfinity's homeowners broker and get access to all of the smart equipment already pre-installed. The insurer doesn't have to worry about it. I don't think that's far-fetched, Avi. I think in 5 to 10 years, we could be living in a world where we could be using words like insurance as a service.
So
As a service.
So when Lemonade says our strategy was to focus on renters to then morph into a homeowners insurance company, whenever that may be, when I look at Wise, I say, Lemonade, your strategy sucks because you could have become a smart home player, develop cameras for cheap and sell them for $20 like Wise did, get 2.4 million customers, which the majority are homeowners, by the way. And I bet you your customer acquisition cost would be significantly lower. So it's all relative. And we always say, we talked about this at Coverage all the time. Maybe the road to redemption doesn't start with insurance. And for all the startup founders out there, the MGAs, the full stack carriers, it's not too late to change. If anyone can change, if anyone has the talent and technology to do something fast and try a different model, there's no shame in pivoting. You should do it. A pivot is not going from direct to working with agents. That's a bad pivot. Do something else.
I love that.
That pivot is coming. Hold on. What Progressive invested in fintech company? Remind me the name.
Wait. I remember the name. Hold on. It was a serious round. Vero?
Yes.
Vero.
Yes. Right. And I thought that was really significant, right? Because here's Progressive. Sometimes they'll partner with a few insurtechs here and there. Hard to call it like they're moving out of their element. Progressive is a great carrier to begin with. And their major investment is in fintech, right? So I do feel like we've seen everything that there is to be seen from insurtechs. I'm never surprised.
I think on demand, there's still some more potential in on demand. That's what I think.
Yeah, but
You're kidding, right?
I'm joking.
Okay.
Joking. Well, no.
All right.
I think the on demand gets to what you were talking about, Avi, which I think is a really complex pricing and business model that might make more sense coming from someone else, right? Like the insurance is a tack on to some other element. So, Shefi, it's a different form of bundling, right? My example of Xfinity is a different form of bundling. They're bundling insurance as the last piece to an already established business model. insurance is going in the other direction. They're starting with insurance. And I agree with Avi. I think if you're a startup founder, maybe the question is not MGA versus carrier. Maybe it's, I'm going to build an audience of something where there's going to be a risk management element to it, and I'm going to be able to bolt on some sort of insurance solution to solve that risk management problem while I continue to cultivate the audience.
And you know what the beauty here is? It's because Wise, their business model is challenging because they sell the camera. They barely make any money on the camera, $20 camera, you know. They don't have that recurring revenue. So they're in a difficult situation because they're saying, well, we need the recurring revenue, you know, we need it.
Yeah.
Insurance companies have the other problem. They have the recurring revenue, but they don't have the audience. So insurance companies,
it's a good pairing.
Yeah, exactly. So you can come in and you could be a disruptor like anyone else. Like you could be like Amazon. You won't be like Amazon, but you could have that mindset of Amazon saying, we will give you a very cheap product. We will give you that Amazon Music cheaper than Spotify. And guess what? Not everybody loves Spotify as Spotify likes to believe. Some people are cheap, like me, and I'll go with Amazon because I have a family plan, and that's it. But Amazon can do that, and Spotify talked about it all the time, and Pandora, how these companies are kind of launching initiatives that are loss leaders for a different product. So if I could give you a camera and lose $5 on the camera, I'm happy because I may earn a customer that would have cost me $300 to bring.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do. Insurance companies, you have the biggest gift, I think. What has been the disadvantage of insurance for centuries, which is being a neutral product. You can't taste it, you can't smell it, you can't feel it. You know, it has nothing, no shape, no form.
Yeah.
That is an opportunity today because neutral can be tied to so many other products and services. And to us, that's the way. We always said that's the way. Lemonade, you know, Lemonade is just for show. They're here to get an exit. That's it. You can't do it. You can't do it with car insurance. Look at Root. Look how many claims people they have. It's not good. You know, someone wrote a review last week how they treat seniors bad. Why is Root treating seniors bad? I didn't even know seniors buy insurance from Root. But there's no secret. There's no magic. And the way to redemption is really either partnering with a company like Wise, buying a company like Wise, or competing with a company like Wise. You can do so many things. And really, just once you stop thinking about insurance, the world opens up.
Well, you brought up music, so I'm going to let me turn up the volume. Our fade music, which means we've probably beaten this dead horse, but this is going to be a topic that we're going to be talking about for a considerable period of time, I think. But it was a quiet week. Thank you both. Shefi, I loved your interview with John Swigart of Pi Insurance, which kind of was the impetus for this. So for anyone that's listening, go to the show notes. I'll have a link to that particular interview. You should really watch it. Shefi's a natural, and I feel like my job here is in jeopardy of interviewing because she does such
you got us started. And you're with us, so that's all that matters.
Yeah. So for all of you that are watching, listening, thank you so much. Until next week, this is This Week in Coverager. Have a great weekend.
Bye everybody.
Bye.